The Summer Olympics opening ceremony caused quite a stir, as it was supposed to. As you know, most of the commentary and criticism regarding this ritual was how outrageous and blasphemous it was. Drag queens making a mockery of the holy reenactment of the Lord's Supper. Well, now that it's been a couple months and the dust has cleared a bit, let's talk about what it actually meant. The secret, hidden, coded message behind the 2024 Paris Olympics opening ceremony is that it is time to go. It's time to skedaddle. If you haven't built your luxury underground bunkers yet, now is the time. This was an encrypted relay, a broadcast meant only for those in the know. They knew many people would get offended and distracted, caught up in the obvious. Today we're going to talk about what wasn't so obvious, and there was basically no way you could have known about it unless you knew. I'm then going to announce some upcoming exciting videos and respond to some of your comments and feedback. Okay, the Paris Games. What you see here is the Abomination of Desolation. The Abomination of Desolation. Now, regardless of your stance on LGBTQ, it doesn't matter, because the entire Bible is a book of code. And I'm not just talking about Hebrew gematria. I'm referring to instructions written thousands of years ago, transmitted across time. A message for the past and the future. Now, the Abomination of Desolation is another one of those scary sounding concepts in the Bible that a lot of biblical scholars and historians have different opinions on. And most lay people don't really know how to interpret it and just follow whatever their church pastor told them it meant. So what does the Bible say about it? I'll be using the New Living Translation, which is the Bible I've had ever since I was a kid. And for the last verse, we'll use a translation that's closer to the King James Version, just for continuity. And I'll explain why right after. So, the Gospel of Mark speaks about this concept in chapter 13, verse 14, and says, "The time will come when you will see the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place, standing where it should not be. Then those in Judea must flee to the hills," or flee to the mountains. And Matthew echoes this in chapter 24, verse 15. Now, when they say flee to the mountains or run for the hills, they mean go underground. Lots of people are confused about where these mystical, spiritual mountains are. When the Bible says Jesus ascended up into heaven by ascending up the Mount of Olives, it means he went underground. Mount Ararat, where Noah's Ark landed after the flood, yeah, that's underground. The people chosen to survive a great reset are taken underground, and whenever the calamity is over, they are sent back to the surface to repopulate. The Native Americans talk about this too in their legends. Mount Sinai, Mount Horeb, the Sermon on the Mount, all underground. It's inverted, you see. No one's actually scaling up any mountains. No one in the know, at least. They're actually entering secret caves and passages at the base of these mountains and using tunnels to go underground. Why? Because underground is where the fountain of youth is. Zion, the land of milk and honey. Amrita, the ambrosia of the gods, is underground. And the elite want access to that in order to avoid the reincarnation cycle, the stress of having to live short lives, die, be accosted in the astral realm, and thrown back into a new baby body. Yeah, they'd rather not. And since people with no soul can't get out, they'd rather lock themselves in as near immortals, just to avoid the BS of the reincarnation cycle. In fact, the secret meaning behind the Tower of Babel mystery is that it wasn't a tower built to the sky. It was a very deep underground passage into the heart of the earth, which was collapsed because the fountain of youth is a limited resource and they don't want just any human walking in any time. So most of the entrances to Inner Earth have been completely blocked off. And that was the actual tragedy of the Tower of Babel, being blocked from longer lifespans. And a lot of people today are raising alarms about these massive wealth transfers, but no one's really talking about where our wealth is going and why. Please refer to my video, Heaven and Earth Multi-Level Pyramid Scheme. But let's return to the abomination of desolation. Matthew references a prophecy in the book of Daniel, which states, "From the time the daily sacrifice is taken away, and the abomination of desolation is set up, there will be 1,290 days. And blessed are those who wait and remain until the end of 1,335 days." So from the time the sacred temple practices are forced to stop and the abomination of desolation appears is about 3.5 years. I wonder what occurred 3.5 years ago. Now, most people interpret the abomination as the Greek or Canaanite idols that replaced the Israelite gods in the temples. But in Leviticus, the same Hebrew word used for abomination is used to refer to homosexuals. In my 3 Pyramids video, I discussed how the women who are kidnapped from the surface and trafficked underground and made to become these veiled Maris or Nephilim mothers are managed by eunuchs, transgenders, and cross-dressing homosexuals. The eunuch tradition goes back thousands of years, where kings and princes would need men who would guard the harem but not sleep with the women. These eunuchs and drag queens would occasionally emerge from the underground and make a grand flamboyant appearance at a sacred holy place to make an announcement on behalf of the king or underworld prince he represented. During this occasion, while most people would be shocked at the sight of this cross-dressing man and proclaim that he's desecrating the temple, others would offer their daughters to him to be taken underground and sold as a bride. They would also petition him to put in a good word for them so the underground rulers would one day allow them entry into Zion. In fact, most of the time, that's what the eunuch was there to announce, that it's time for the chosen ones to board the ark, for the next great reset is at hand. But there's something else too, and I know people don't want to hear this, but analyze the painting for a moment, their expressions, their body language. Why is the guy on the right of Jesus like, "Whoa, man, WTF"? Why does the man on the left with the gray beard have his hands up like, "I'm not touching that"? Or the gentleman in the blue on the right side of the table, gesturing like he's shocked and can't believe what's happening here? Think of the actual scripture where Jesus is very concerned that someone might betray him and turn him in. For what though? Eating bread and wine? No, they were not eating bread and wine. Jesus and Mary Magdalene were initiating the disciples into their secret sect, which requires the consumption of an offering. And if you recall from the Paris Games opening Olympic ceremony, the painted man was on the dinner table with food around him, symbolizing that he was being offered to the drag queens, who were mimicking Da Vinci's famous painting. Could it be that this whole time Judas was the Good Samaritan? So, when you see the abomination of desolation in the places meant to be sacred and holy, it is the signal to run for the hills, flee to the mountains, and descend to the underworld cities, for a black hole closes in on the simulation. And they just about have the infrastructure ready for the next simulation. At this point, they basically just need powerful minds that can hold open the portal. they're confident that with a bit more time, they can find these neos of the Matrix and use them to merge with the machine mind, achieving the technological singularity. But even if they achieve that and immerse themselves into metaverse, that's it. There are no more dimensions after that. So they're just delaying the inevitable. There is no escaping a black hole. That's why there have been all these timeline shifts. They're trying to go back in time and to another space where the black hole is farther away. This is also why lately a lot of people feel like time is speeding up and going by super fast. No, time isn't speeding up. Our perception, which is directly linked to the mainframe, is slowing down, making it feel like time is slipping away. All is mind, and whoever controls your perception controls you. But again, they are just delaying the inevitable. The simulation is ending, and we are going to bring a reckoning. How dare they, these false gods and trickster spirit guides, steal our memories, make us forget who we are, what we fought for, who we loved. And people are like, well, that's why life is so precious, because we're going to lose it all and forget. No, they're not taking anything from me. I refuse. My memories belong to me, and my life force is my own. I don't understand how people can be so okay with the reincarnation cycle. You're telling me that my mom will forget my name? The very face of her firstborn child? I declare war on these false entities. The Arcturians, the Pleiadians, the Ascended Masters, all of them, they're all using humanity. And whether I stand with 8 billion or I stand alone, I declare war on the gods. I'm not going to worship or bow to you. You have made me your enemy, and with the love and wisdom of all my foremothers, and the will and strength of all my forefathers, let it be known that I will make them regret it. I saw how they cheat, how they use technology to emotionally manipulate people into agreeing to hardships. People couldn't figure it out. Why do almost all NDE and pre-birth reports recount this incredible, overwhelming joy and love that they've never felt before? It's technology. They are beaming that frequency right at you. So we have to learn here and now how to make the right decisions, no matter if we feel happy or sad. Okay, shifting gears a little bit, I asked you guys to tell me what you'd like to see next, and so far people are saying they want to hear more about our origins. Even Wayne Bush and Julie McVeigh over at Sovereign Spirits gave me feedback that it would be actually more helpful to hear how we incarnated here in the first place. And I guess that makes sense, because even if we get out, if we don't explore what got us in this situation in the first place, what's going to prevent us from winding up in another matrix somewhere else, you know? So yeah, keep the comments coming. Let me know what you want to see. Ask questions, check the description for sources, reference material, and additional information. Here's what I don't really want to see though, and you guys can pause it and read it. Deacidal 88. YouTube won't let me respond to your comments anymore on my last video, so I'll respond here. First off, please be more respectful. This situation is frustrating for all of us. Insults are not at all helpful. Second, I want to clarify for everyone that I didn't say that Nazis rule the world. Yes, they infiltrated certain branches of the government and military, but they don't rule the world. No one on the surface world rules anything. I thought I made that clear in my 3 pyramids video, and I will have more videos about the underground coming up, but one of the very first concepts I laid out was that no one no president or prime minister, no one we can see is actually in charge. The political theater is a circus show to give us the illusion of choice and liberty, so that we are more likely to agree to come back. Because there was too much resistance to reincarnation when we were all in a feudal system. And your comment about the Jews, I see this a lot with people who are only on the surface level of conspiracy theories, and I don't blame you. Take a stroll down Wall Street and you might say, I observe a disproportionate amount of Jews here, even though they only make up a small percentage of the population. Therefore, they must run things. Jews did this. Jews control that. They don't control anything. Yes, they are on the front lines, scapegoats, and prominent in certain sectors, but I assure you, they answer to someone else further up the hierarchy. Jews are servants, okay? And yes, they have their own hierarchy among their ranks. You have the Levites, the Cohens, etc. But no matter how wealthy or influential they are, they're making that money for someone else, someone who doesn't have to work the 9 to 5. So anyone you see hustling on Wall Street obviously isn't part of the nobility. And all that wealth gets transferred to the underground. Our 1% don't even keep all of it. They give a large portion to the underground cities, who live very long and pleasant lives full of ease and leisure because you work your ass off. And most of your wealth generated from your labor and taxes goes towards black budget projects and untraceable destinations. It's going underground. And your comment about Hollywood, nope. The mafia run Hollywood and the entertainment industry. Jews may be a celebrity's manager or agent, but I promise you, they answer to an Italiano. The educational system, again, no. Mainstream academia is mainly run by Jesuits. Okay, liberal arts education, that's Jesuit. Like I said before, military and space programs have been infiltrated by Nazis. Religious institutions are run by secret societies, and intelligence communities are run by elite bloodline families. So, the point is, there is infighting among the Ariani. Jews are servants, if even that. Many are deemed out of caste, but they are promised that if they faithfully serve the Ariani, whichever faction that is, that they'll be rewarded. And here's how. This is a photo of Baron David Rothschild and Principessa Olimpia Anna Aldobrandini. They got married in 1974. In old Europe, it was common practice for Catholic nobility and aristocracy to hire a Jew to manage their financial transactions and make profit by charging interest on loans. Jews have a concept called Heter Iska, which allows them to redefine loans as investments and therefore earn profit without technically committing any sin. These agreements between Jewish and Catholic families goes deeper than that, though, and gets rather sinister when you tie in the reincarnation cycle. There is this concept within inner circles where a subordinate family is blooded or bound to a higher ranking family for several lifetimes. These are one of the extended term contracts some people are manipulated into signing in the upper astral realms, which also ties into generational curses. The term length of these contracts is usually 7 generations or 7 lifetimes, where members of the subordinate family must incarnate as a soul group alongside the higher ranking family and serve them during their human lifetime. Many past life regressions report that even though they lived a humble life of service, they were told it was mandatory for them to reincarnate again, because apparently they still had 5 more lifetimes to go on this one contract. You could be generationally bound to a soul group that has been blooded or sworn to serve another family. A lot of people say, I don't know why I'm here, or I didn't really get to rest during my in-between life. Yeah, because you're still on the clock, so to speak. Many people in narcissistic relationships don't realize that a lot of that comes from the astral contracts, where you are basically manipulated into agreeing to let this person leech off you, because who knows, maybe they're distantly related to a royal. As far as Jewish families like the Rothschilds, this goes back to the concept of a house Jude, which was reflected in the Harry Potter series with the portrayal of house elves. We all remember little Dobby, and how Dobby was free when Master Malfoy gave him a sock. The concept is that if your master, the Dracos, give you an article of clothing, then you are free from your contract of service to them. But why an article of clothing? In esoteric symbolism, clothes or robes represent the body, the flesh. When Adam and Eve were nude in the garden and not ashamed, this actually refers to higher dimensional spirit forms. After the fall, they made clothes for themselves, meaning they became embodied. They felt shame first, then incarnated. And that's important because, like many people report, they were guilt-tripped into reincarnating, or were convinced by spirit guides that something was inadequate about themselves, and therefore you needed to become human to fix something or learn something. All manipulation, of course. Anyway, when the master family offers you clothes, it really means they are offering you a bloodline. They're offering you children or descendants, so you can now reincarnate into the higher ranking family and be free from the toil of the contract. It's how elite families move up the ranks, so to speak, and why maintaining careful control of bloodlines is so important, because when you mate with someone, you're karmically entwined with them. Some people believe that you can reincarnate as a tree or a butterfly. No, you reincarnate through your families. Yes, there are exceptions here and there, but for the most part, people are reborn into the same ethnic groups. There is a multidimensional reason why royal families are very careful and strategic with who they're allowed to marry. So to wrap this up, the Rothschilds are servants, and the concept of the house Jude is generally kept hush-hush in inner circles. But as a reward for amassing so much wealth for the people really in charge, Baron Rothschild gets to marry an Olympian with the hope that one day he too can be reborn on Mount Olympus. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope I clarified certain things about quote-unquote the Jews and the Olympic ceremony ritual. Keep commenting below what you want to see next. If people still vote for Origins, then we'll have to go back in time. If you have a moment, please consider checking out my website. I also did some fascinating interviews that I think you guys will enjoy, so stay tuned. Bye.